Hello, everybody. Welcome to Curriculum Night. I am going to go ahead and get started so that I can respect your guys' time. And I actually also have a training directly after this at 5 o'clock. So I want to make sure that you guys get out of here and can enjoy the rest of your night and that I am not late to that training. So as you know, hopefully my name is Mrs. Dillon and I am your children's fourth grade Renaissance teacher this year. I'm very excited. The kids have done amazing the first 5 weeks of school. We've had so much fun and we've learned so much in science and we've learned about each other and we've really been diving into the curriculum over the last several weeks. And I'm excited to talk a little bit more about that today. I have included in the chat, and I'll do it one more time, if you would like to follow along on the presentation. I will also put the presentation up on my class website as well as this video recording. So if you need to go back and refer to it later, or if somebody that wasn't here asks you what went on, you can refer them back to this video so you don't have to explain everything to them. If you have any questions, there was a Google form that I sent out last week or earlier this week where you can put questions in. Right now, I've only got one question in there, so I will answer that one as we go through the information today. All right, so room 503, that's my room. A little bit about me. The kids hear me talk about the dogs all the time because I am absolutely in love with our two little puppies. Yoda is the blonde dog and Vader is the black. Those are our two new puppies, two Chihuahua mixes. They have my heart. Here's my husband. We've been married for 26 years. We were high school sweethearts. We have three lovely children, Alex, Guinevere, and Garrett. It's kind of an old picture, actually. They're all adults at this point. The blonde children, Alex is the young gentleman. He is 25. My daughter is 21. And my youngest is the tallest one, and he just turned 18 and he graduated from Boulder Creek last year. So one great way to get notifications about your students' work is to sign up for Canvas. We are not on Canvas, but we are using it as a tool to turn in information. So I'm going to talk about Canvas at the very end of the presentation, but we will use Canvas to turn in certain information. So we do math in class, but we do turn in our exit ticket through Canvas in the morning. We also do our vocabulary through Canvas because that's where I've set it up. Usually we do not do math or social studies in Canvas, and occasionally we do ELA. They will be, when they type stories, they will turn final drafts in. That way they can follow the rubric and I can grade it through there. So we have Canvas. You can sign up as an observer and you can determine how many notifications you get. I would say start off with less than more because you do not want to be getting a notification every time I adjust anything on there, because sometimes that can happen 10 or 15 times in one day and you don't want to be there for that. The class website is another great resource. The class website, you can get to that by the Canyon Springs website. This is where this is where I put newsletters. There's an additional link right here. It doesn't show it, but there's an additional link on there right now called newsletters. Anytime I send out a group email to the entire parent, I will put it in as a newsletter. So I just copy it and paste it in, unless it has student sensitive information. So if I sent you a personal email, I wouldn't put that there, but anything, so like the curriculum night, any of that kind of information just also goes on the newsletter. That way you don't have to search through your email history. You can just go right to the website and locate it. So in class, we work through different social emotional programs. We incorporate it throughout the whole day. When opportunities arise, we talk about feelings, empathy, how to deal and cope with stress situations, how to cope when you're stressed, or maybe when your neighbors is stressed and that's stressing you out. How do we work around that? How do we make sure we're in the best learning environment? We're really lucky because we only have 16 students. The last several years, I've had 25 to 27 students. So we have a lot of room in the classroom. It's very spacious. So when students need a place, I have a back table that is a full table. I have a trapezoid table that they can come to. There are a lot of spaces in the room where they can just kind of go and work and, kind of decompress from any stress that they're dealing with. We have a couple of different programs. One is called Habits of Mind, Stanford Harmony, just a regular social emotional program through the district. and growth mindset that we work on, and I take bits and pieces as they pertain to our students. In ELA this year, we are always working a year above in Renaissance for grade level. And what that looks like is we have 5th grade level curriculum from the district, and then we have gifted curriculum for 4th graders. So the gifted curriculum at 4th grade is already above, and then the district curriculum, we do 5th grade. So we look at mini book studies, we look at small group reading and writing, we integrate into social studies and science. So for this week, we are doing a story about a boy from Nepal, and he is trying to build a kind of it's called a tarpaul bridge across the river. So we read a whole story about him, and we're analyzing the reading. We're pulling out textual information to help us determine where we're going to suggest that they build this bridge. We have a program called Junior Great Books as well. Those are classical stories that we will take and analyze and talk about and discuss based on what we're doing in class as well. Scholastic News, we have a subscription to Scholastic News this year. The students will read that every week or every other week, depending on how often I get subscription, my order. We watch videos, we read stories, and it was great because the last story was about rescuing a giraffe from an area of land that kind of turned into an island based on a flood. So it really ties into our social studies because we're talking about landforms, and they had to use basically the entire STEM process. In the article, they talked about how they were able to rescue the giraffes and all the different parts of the STEM process or the engineering design process they had to go to. So it really tied in really well with our social studies. And then we do grammar as well, just to make sure that students are using nouns correctly. At the beginning of the year, students were struggling with using correct tenses. So they would have, like, in the same paragraph, they would have present tense and past tense and future tense talking about the same event. So we've been working on that. There are 4 types of writing we'll do. Each quarter is a different writing: personal narrative, informative writing, persuasive writing, and then poetry. So those will be our focus for each quarter. In math, this is 5th grade math as well. So we have a lot of different areas we're using. Eureka Math is the district curriculum, and Zern is also an approved, as well as Dreambox. So we use a little bit of those. We have small group work every day. Breakout EDU is a program that they started using last year, but it really works on looking at math, but it also is problem solving. It's also using your analyzing ability to read paragraphs and pull out textual clues to solve the puzzle. It's basically a escape room, but digitally. They'll work in small groups, they'll work individually, we'll work as a whole class to create those. And then we do a lot of hands-on things, activities in math, where we have centers that we work with, but we also have a lot of manipulatives. We have place value charts, always trying to make math more engaging and so that students have a deeper understanding of it. The topics on the left-hand side are what they will be learning in 5th grade math. We've started out the year with place value and decimal fractions. As you can see, decimals and fractions really permeate through the entire year with the students. So multi-digit whole number and decimal fraction operations, addition and subtraction of fractions, multiplication and division of fractions and decimal fractions, addition and multiplication with volume and area, and problem solving with the coordinate plane. We're getting ready to finish our very first unit, and the students are doing really, really well. We'll have our test on Friday. In the next week, we have a very short week next week, so we will work on going over the test, makeups for tests for students that did not score at least 80% or better. So there'll be some reteaching or retest, and then we'll also be creating games to teach place value and decimals. Social studies. If you've had me as a teacher in the past, you know that I have a very special place in my heart for social studies because I taught middle school social studies. So I always find a way to swing back and pull in some kind of historical fact or information, and the kids really, really enjoy it. We are looking at North and South American history, ancient times through colonies, and geography. So right now we're doing heavy geography. We've worked through 4 of the 5 regions. We're in the Southeast region right now. We'll start Southeast region right now. And then next week we'll do the Northeast region, and then we'll be done with our exploration of regions. I always start out with geography because it's so important that the students, when I talk to them, especially once we start talking about colonies, know where we are. And that helps them get a reference. We talked about states, capitals in all the regions in North America, in the United States. So I always start out with that, but we've also started in our Mayan cultures. This is our second week in Mayan cultures. They've started to look at Mayan hieroglyphics. They've looked at the Mayan ball game that they are creating their own game to play out on recess. They have, today we looked at the Mayan calendar. So they will read some in the textbook, watch some short videos, and then I always have activities, hands-on pieces for them to work through to help build that, because in the textbook, it's 2 short pages, and I don't feel like that's enough to learn about an entire cultural or group of people. And it's great because we're learning about the Mayas, the Aztecs, and the Incas, and I've been to all 3 of those places in Mexico and Central America. So I have lots of pictures as well as some artifacts that I will bring in and be sharing with the students over the next couple of weeks. The last area is going to be science. So science is amazing. Actually, my first job at Canyon Springs was 5th grade science teacher for 2 years. So I love science. I really love all the areas of the day, but science is another fun one. Right now we're working on landforms. So the first couple of weeks we talked about volcanoes, and we looked at the different types of magma and lava, and we looked at how volcanoes are formed, what makes up what makes up the shape of the different volcanoes. And the kids loved that. We did some hands-on experiments with that as well. Right now, like I said, we're learning about how the landform really determines what you can build on it. So we're looking at that social studies piece, which is human environment interactions, which is part of geography. And we're looking at the landform and how those 2 meet together. So how humans interact with the environment and how the environment impacts the humans. And so we're looking at the landforms, we're looking at the rock levels. This week, students got to take a soil sample. I created some models for them. They couldn't see the sides of it, and they took 2 clear tubes, inserted them into the sand, inserted them into the mixture, and pulled it out, and were able to see the different layers of the materials. And then they were able to chart that. We're going to be building tomorrow and the next day, and we're going to be creating models to see if we can build our bridge. We'll continue on to environments, which is going to look at biomes, as well as different layers of the earth and what the earth is made out of. So if you think of like rocks and minerals, and we'll finish off the school year with electricity. And of course, STEM is always built throughout. If your children came home and told you we were going to peel bananas the first week of school, that was because that was one of our very first STEM lessons, was the most efficient way to peel a banana. And I never thought I would have that many different styles and ways to peel bananas, but they were all successful. They all came up with very creative ways. So it was a wonderful experience for them. Homework is rarely ever assigned. I haven't assigned any homework this year. Occasionally they will need to, if they have a project that they want to build, they might want to do that at home, but I always get parent permission first. Most things are done in class. The only time that homework gets assigned is if they were absent, and I can't make up 7 hours worth of schoolwork in addition to doing the other 7 hours. So sometimes there might be 1 or 2 things that I tell them they need to work a little bit at home, but they get a couple of extra days if they're absent. You can go onto the Canvas list, and on the right-hand side, they'll have a to-do list. So you can check if there's a lot of stuff in that to-do list. It might mean that they're not getting everything done in class. But everything in Canvas does not correlate to everything in the grade book, because there would be hundreds of grades in the grade book. And so I usually only put 1 to 2 grades in the grade book a week. Oftentimes it'll be 1 grade. Let me go to the grading policy. Usually it'll be 1 formative grade, which is a 5% grade. And that'll just be a quick check to see how the student is doing, kind of like practice. I refer to it, the students, from when I used to coach cross country. The formative grades are every day when you practice, we time you, we see how fast you're running. It will impact your final meet, but it won't be added into your final meet score. So then we have summative grades, and those are going to be tests, projects, quizzes that really show an understanding of a concept or standard. Grades should never be a surprise. I tell the kids usually on Monday, one of the first things they do is they go in and they look at their Power Schools grade. They check 1 to make sure they're not missing any assignments. If they are, they locate those assignments and either turn them in or work on them. And then the second thing they do is they look at any grades that are less than 80%. And if they're less than 80%, we have a conversation about what the assignment was, Is it something that they're not understanding? Why they didn't and why they didn't get above 80%? Retake policy, I always want it to be student driven. So it can be great if you email me and tell me that they need to retake a test, but the kids really need to, at 4th grade, they can start really having that desire to improve. When they take a test, it always is done after additional learning is done, because if they just keep taking a test over and over, I really don't care about the grade. I really care about the grade implies that they don't understand a concept. So I really will sit with them and do small group and make sure they understand what they're not scoring well on, because that indicates they don't understand this. They don't have a good understanding of the standard. We do not do retakes unless they're absent. We don't do retakes the week before the quarter ends, because I won't have enough time to regrade and put those grades in. I usually actually stop grades about a week before the quarter ends. That way the students I spend that next week making sure that students are making corrections, that they can get in all those assignments. That way I have a week to do that. And then I'll just take those grades during that week and put them on the next week of the next quarter. Communication, website and email. So website will have a lot of information for you to check, and then email is the best way. If you call me on my school phone, I will not get that usually until the end of the day, because our phones are blocked from any outside phone calls. I usually can get you back, usually way less than 24 hours, but as a district, we have a 24-hour policy, but usually it's within a couple of hours. I check my email before school, during my planning time, and then always after school. Sometimes after 3 or 4 o'clock, I don't check it, depending on what else I have going on in the afternoon. Birthdays, we celebrate birthdays at Canyon Springs. The school-wide rule is that we're not allowed to have any outside food brought into the classroom due to allergies and food safeties. But there is a birthday box that you can get from the cafeteria if you email the cafeteria, or the students can bring in a small prize like pencils. Some kids bring in like little toys from the Dollar Tree, and they can bring those in as well. We have a lot of birthdays coming up in September. We have 5 birthdays in September, so we will be birthday heavy this month. All right, so that concludes most of my presentation. I'm going to spend the next couple of minutes just reviewing Canvas for any of those of you that do not know a lot about Canvas. If you have any questions for me that I didn't answer during this presentation, please email me and I will get back to you tomorrow with a response. There was one question that that did come in, and that was about field trips. At this time, district is not allowing us to have field trips. So at least for the first quarter. So we as 4th grade have not planned any field trips. In the past, we've gone on 2 field trips. We've gone to Lake Pleasant for a 1-day, day-long presentation at Lake Pleasant, where we do a bunch of different activities, outdoor education. And the second field trip we usually have taken at the end of the year is Great Skate has a really good presentation that goes along with STEM, and it goes along with some of our science standards. So we've done those 2. So we've done Lake Pleasant for a day and then Great Skate as well for a day. So I will keep you informed if either one of those start to get planned. But as of right now, we have not planned anything because we're waiting for district to open up those options for us. And when we make those field trips, we have to put money down. So we can't do that until district has approved us. Okay, so if you go to start.dvusd.org, this is the Canvas. This is what your start page will look like. You'll click on Canvas. And I like to refer to Canvas as the file cabinet. And once you get onto Canvas, you will have a couple of options. All of these little images relate to a subject area for your child. Now, I have a lot more than they will have. They'll just have the 5 different subject areas. They will have a to-do list on the right-hand side that tells them of upcoming events or assignments that are due. So once you click on each of these, it'll be like opening up a file cabinet. Once you open up that file cabinet, you can look at their calendar, which is in this blue column, or you can go to the right of the blue column, and that will, so that's over here. So you'll have this column is the blue column. And then once you're in the course, you'll have this. And so your assignments are going to be in this part right here. Well, so here's that same example over here. This is the blue column is for all of Canvas. The white column is for the course you're in. So this was from my writing course last year in 6th grade. Here is their to-do list. For me, it looks like things that need to be graded. And then this is where they will come and find their assignments. So that would be under modules or quizzes or assignments, and then grades. They can also just click on items that are to do. Once they click on modules, the screen will look like this, and it'll have due dates, it'll have assignments, and they will just go through and make sure that everything has been completed based on the date it's due. Here's an example of grades from a very naughty test student that never did anything last year. You'll be able to go in and see if they have turned it in. I can grade it even if they haven't turned it in, but it's probably going to be a 50% grade. Sometimes students will do something on paper because they're not able to do it on the computer, and I'll put a grade in, but they'll still be missing assignment. So you can check that as well. Again, not everything that is done on Canvas and graded on Canvas will transfer to a PowerSchools grade, because we do a lot of things in class that is just us learning how to do, learning how to identify cause and effect, learning how to identify the erosion process, learning how to do the steps of dividing decimals, which is what we're doing right now. So I would not assess that and put it in the grade book, because that's us learning how to do the process. So the assessment will come at a later time. And then if you would like to create a parent account, the best way to do it is on your computer. There is an app you can do, but once you, if you're on the app, it doesn't allow you to change the amount of notifications you get. And if you do it just from your app on your phone, it will give you all the notifications every single time I change something or they submit something. So that's a little overwhelming. So if you go to, you'll need to have your student's account, and then you'll need to make your own, and you'll sign up on the left-hand side, dvusd.instructure.com. Then you'll click on parent user, you'll create one. What you need is a student pairing code. If you look at the right side of the screen, if you were on their account, you would click their account picture, then you would click the pairing, and then you would get a code number that they will borrow or that you will use, and you will enter that into your parent piece. And that is it. That is all I have for this presentation. I don't think I have any other questions. Let's see. I think you guys can unmute yourself if you have a question or comment. If not, you're free to go. You got 5 minutes to spare. Maybe you can hide from your kids and have 5 minutes of alone time, and no one will know. But otherwise, thank you guys for a great, it's been a wonderful start to a great year. I'm so excited that I am in 4th grade this year, and the students have been absolutely fantastic. And I'm really appreciative of that.
Ms. Dillon, I have a question.
Yes.
This is Caden's mom, Kathy.
Hi.
Are they allowed to work on Zearn at home?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't want them to go too far ahead. Usually I tell them they really, before they can go ahead and Zearn, they need to do like the practice and the homework and the exit ticket, so they stay together in that lesson. But there are on Zearn, there are bonus levels that'll go deeper into the curriculum, deeper into the concept. And I'd rather them do the bonus before they move on to the next lesson.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Any other questions? If not, I hope you all have a wonderful Wednesday. Don't forget, next week we have Monday, Tuesday off, and we have school pictures on Wednesday of next week, the 8th.
Thank you, Ms. Dillon.
You're welcome. Have a wonderful night, everybody.